Okay, so thank you for joining us for yet another Indie Game Spotlight. And today I'm delighted to introduce to you Mark from Amazing Gaming Productions to talk all about his game, Tales from Trinity City. Welcome, Mark. Thank you for joining us today.
Well, I would like to thank you guys because getting out there, that's one of my big things that I'm trying to work on. I'm really learning the expression shy children get nothing. So I have to push myself. I'm no longer the game dev that's working on something for 6 years without showing much of anything anymore. And I'm going like, okay, let's put it out there. But yeah,
And
yeah,
it's
it's a
frightening. It is frightening. We absolutely understand that. We've had to do it ourselves. We are absolute introverts. We're like, what are we doing? So we absolutely understand how nervous it is when you're trying to get out there and tell people about this amazing thing that you've produced. Now, we always start off with our first question, which is what inspired you to make Tales from Trinity City?
well. That would be quite a few things. Quite a few things. First of all, the how much the Marvel Cinematic Universe up until the Endgame was really great. Endgame had a couple of things I didn't like about it because I'm all about characters. So if you present me with Professor Hulk coming in just like, "Hi, I went to therapy. I am integrated now." That's such a bad storytelling. And I put this down and I put this small snippet of what I would have done. I would have had Bruce Banner fighting back and forward between himself and the Hulk, changing in front of said psychologist, angry that Hulk didn't show up when Thanos snapped, would refuse. So that would be the perfect thing, and have this back and forth, angry at each other, and then after he turns into Professor Hulk, fully integrated as they become one, he just throws the psychologist, "Hey, if you want danger pay, contact the Avengers," and you have the card flying around, then the black, just the words Avengers, black, Endgame. Boom! That would have been so exciting. But they chose never to do that. They just like, oh my, don't do that. Every fan will hate you for the rest of time. And so
So,
stuff like that started to really annoy me. And
yeah.
when they started to inject certain things, I'm not going to go into culture war because it's all about frickin' people just making their phones their reality. I
Yeah.
just want like, let's get back to what makes a superhero a superhero.
So, was it specifically the sort of films that inspired you, or was it the actual comics before the films? So,
Uh,
so where does where's the root of this inspiration from?
Mostly the films. I didn't really read a lot of comics, although if I uh, look behind me, I'm starting to read a lot more comics now. A lot more indie comics. I don't really like the mainstream so much because, like I said, they inject Twitter into their comics, and I'll always, instead of saying politics, I'll just say Twitter because it's Twitter. It's Twitter. Don't like it. And so things like Came in America, Soul Finder by Douglas Ernst. I have things from Ripperverse, from Eric July, stuff that I enjoy, and it helps me inform what kind of game I want to tell. And it comes down to the idea, like I said, is let's go back to what makes superheroes superheroes. The Star Wars hero that does whatever it takes to protect people, or the anti-hero like the Punisher who's more than willing to put a bullet in somebody's head because they're threatening innocence, or the
Yeah.
Joker who just loves blowing up hospitals because it's fun. Let's bring that back. Let's have these kinds of stories that make people go like, wow, well, introducing TTRPG elements in there. What do you do when you have a group of villains who are trying to cause like a building to fall down, but there's a family that wall will crush? So do you fight the villains? Do you save the people, or try split off the group to some fighting and some trying to save and stuff like that, and have that kind of a real dilemma? What do you do? Are you the person who fights the villains and other people are protecting and stuff like that? So, but you're always working as a team of superheroes to try to save the day, no matter what. Or maybe you want to
Quite
be
nice.
a group of villains too.
That reminds me of when I used to work when I was young, when I was a kid, and I used to watch things like Batman with the kapow and poo, and it's that sort of feel about it. It's that sort of
Yeah.
60s, 70s Batman and Robin, sort of brightly coloured, going, holy smokes, Batman, and off he goes after the bad guys. It's got that sort of vibe. So we're going to start talking about the system now. Now, this is where my camera normally goes nuts as I start waving my hands around. But we all hear it all the time. We always hear about simple systems to crunchy systems. So if I was to say simple here and crunchy here, where would you come on that scale? Where would Tales of Trinity City sit?
I would say about here. There is some crunch. There's 40 different powers and about 20 different skills, and under them there is a number of abilities under each power and skill. And so, but I would say lighter, but not completely like Morkboard, where I haven't checked it out, but I'm gathering it's just here's a list of skills and you're rolling on those skills and having your adventure. I give at least some definition, like there's fire mastery, and you have 12 different actions under there, plus a few passive abilities. So you pick fire mastery, and you will eventually, if it's a primary, you will eventually gather all the abilities because you're unlocking everything as you progress. So it becomes simple. I say, hey, all you have to do is say what kind of background you are, what kind of what your powers and skills are, and that defines all your stats. And then as you get more powerful, those stats improve as well.
Okay, so if I was going to say, so we've talked about complexity, and you're sort of talking about mid complexity from what you've said. So you have got some complexity built in, but it's not a pure simple system, but it's not got heavy crunch. So do you use dice? And if so, which dice do you use?
I'm using right now a D20 system. A lot of things are either power or skill checks. Like the example of the wall is falling. Well, somebody with super strength can go in and use a strength roll to hold up that wall, while other people who might have like perception abilities and everything be able to start to use ranged weapons to start to attack the people who were trying to cause the building to fall down if they were on top of it, kind of thing. So it's something like that. I have a range of combat offense and defensive stats like health, defensive rating, which is basically the same as armor class, basically, but some people don't wear armor. Spider-Man doesn't wear armor, he wears a suit. And that suit probably offers absolutely zero protection, because we've seen it, Green Goblin throwing things at him, and it rips him apart and cuts him and everything. But he is so amazingly dexterous, and in mine, that would be called lightning reflexes, that he can dodge most of everything that's thrown at him. So I call it defensive rating instead of armor class. And then there is some Superman-like damage reductions and damage resistances. Now that's where we kind of get into the crunchiness. Combat is a little bit crunchy because you reduce damage from reductions and then further reduce it with resistance as well.
Okay. Then, so we started talking a little bit about the system. So what I'm going to do is draw you back to the beginning of your system and walk us through your mechanics of your system, because that will give Dean all of the bits he needs to start figuring out in his head so he can ask you all the interesting stuff.
Okay, there we go. And I'll give you guys a bit of a look at it too, because let's see if I can, if you could do it. There we go. Basically like that. And you have the top portion, you name your character, give it a background. And that is, in my system, backgrounds are extremely important. It's like, it's not like I was a farmer. It's more of, I'm gifted. I'm born with powers, therefore I have the most powers, and then that defines how I gain powers and skills in the game, and when those unlock. And then you have a skilled character, like Batman. He doesn't have powers, he just has intense focus, drive, and so he can learn up to 7 skills. Where everybody else learns 3 or 4, he can learn 7. And if you start off with certain things, you can also branch into some technical powers as well. And then you have Technician, who starts off with technical powers because he has an engineering background, basically. So he can make a force field. He is a trained engineer for the city, Trinity City, and is working for them. But on the side, he's also helping fighting crime. And then I also give a bit of spiritual stuff with Mystic. And a Mystic has access to things like connecting with the astral plane, to do things like calling on the celestial forces or the infernal forces to aid them in combat and aid them in figuring things out. And then, of course, like Spider-Man, accidentally got bit by a spider and has powers. There's the experimental, where this is a person who didn't have powers, wanted them, and tried to get them. Most of the time, it's discouraged by the city because most people will die because of it. Kind of like I was reading Emmy's thing about Custodes and how 1 in 1,000 people die. Well, maybe not 1 in 1,000, but will survive. Maybe 1 in 10 people will survive this kind of thing, and then they'll develop powers as a result. But the powers aren't natural to their bodies, and therefore they have this thing I call power flux. You can either have the power way overpowered, like, well, I shouldn't say overpowered, go up 4 levels of that ability, or down 4. And you roll for that to see what happens. So kind of like if you think about Spider-Man in the 1990s, sometimes in the cartoon, sometimes his powers didn't work and he couldn't do anything. Sometimes he could. and or he could turn into the man spider. And so I created that kind of mechanic for that. So a lot of my decisions for this was kind of like, how do I make everything kind of like a cartoon or these movies as much as possible? So a lot of the powers, like you have magnetism as a power, and I combined two characters, one out of DC and one out of Marvel, of course, and so a character with magnetism can have a gauntlet of scrap metal around their vest and punch things with it, or they will eventually be able to crush a car like it's a tin can.
So we're starting to talk about so the nuances of the game. So what I really like to understand is, say for example, I wanted to create a character. What are the steps I would go through, and how would I take a character from my imagination and actually turn it into something I could play?
Okay, so with that, the background is the first step because, like I said, it defines what kind of powers you can have and what you and their and skills as well. So, let's say, just to
Is it a
ask you,
choice of background? Is it a choice? Is it, and
yeah,
if so, how many are there?
just those five,
There's five
just those,
backgrounds.
just those five backgrounds you choose because everyone will have something different. There is powers that only gifted have. There is power. There is powers only mystics have. There is powers that only technicians have, and there's powers, of course, that only experimentals can have.
So the background from what I'm getting is more the origin of
Yeah,
your character. Yeah. So every superhero has an origin, how they came to be who they are. If we take Batman Begins, he fell down a well. As a child, he had this intense fear of bats. His parents then got killed. He went on this great journey, got trained by Ra's al Ghul, but then saw what evil they were doing and decided to fight crime when he got back to Gotham and seeing how Gotham had descended into to this chaos, and that could all be kind of put together as a background. So whilst you've only got five, the background can be as deep and as meaningful as you want to create it.
exactly. And for somebody like Batman, he would probably have the engineering thing. So he has martial arts, he has physical fitness, he has mindfulness, that's the mental skill, and then engineering, and then he's taking stuff like power armor because he's able to make that kind of work with Lucius to have this really highly resistant armor that can do quite a few things and have some gadgets as well, so he can go like boom boom and have this mix of different things he can do. Exactly.
Fantastic. Mm.
So that's lovely. I've got a question though, because I've gone right. I've played quite a few games with what I would class as power gamers. Okay, so say for example, I was the power gamer, and I was like, I want everything. How do you actually restrict it so that people so you don't end up with one person in a party that's just everything to everybody?
Well, that is, as I said, the backgrounds also define when you gain powers and skills. Most, even gifted, they only have four powers. Mystic and technicians can have more than four powers, but technicians are relegated to just technician powers, and mystics are relegated to anything that's attached to the mystic. But with that, there's only everybody's going to have a mixture of either 6 or 7 powers and skills, and therefore, and primaries are, like I said, they unlock everything. So you are your primary. So you won't be able to be Superman like as we would see in the movies. You can't be him. Only Superman can be Superman, and it would be way overpowered to have everything from sight to invulnerability and lots of health and smash through buildings because he's super strong or anything like that. It's just too much. But with those the limit of 4 powers and 3 skills for gifted, or 3 powers or 4 or 5 powers and a couple of skills with mystics and technicians, you can't have that. So choose your role. It's almost exactly like, are you a fighter? Are you a mage? Are you a thief? Are you a cleric? Are you an elf, dwarf, or halfling in the red block set? What are you? Choose. And there is certain there will always be that limit. This is what you are.
Okay. I'm gonna just,
by the way.
yeah, that is Alfie and his tail. I'm going to be dialing this back to something which I need to understand a bit more about. So at the start, you said there was a D20. So
yes.
Your system revolves around all tests are done with a D20.
Yes.
Plus a value?
Yes.
Against a target number?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, that sounds straightforward. I think that's a very sensible approach. It just works. It works really, really well.
Yeah, exactly. The values, the additions are based upon super strength. Super strength would give you a +5 to your strength rolls to begin with, and as you adventure and get stronger, it can go up to +11.
Okay,
but
so how?
But then you might be a strength feat might be to stop a running car, and that's a difficulty check of like 20, 25, because it'd be extremely difficult, even if you have super strength, to stop a car in mid-going, right?
Yeah.
So...
Okay, so we've talked about attributes as well. So what sort of attributes do you have in the system? What makes up your character?
Well, basically, going through it, I have a list of them, and endurance, which would be like, can you resist poison or poisonous gas or something like that? So there's endurance. Strength, basically hold up a wall, stop a car, stuff like that. Reflexes, can you dodge out of this explosion's way? Can you do this? Can you do that? Will, which is the ability, your mind's strength. So can you resist somebody's telepathic intrusions? Can you resist somebody's stun effect, like somebody tries to shock you? Judgment, which is basically, are you cluing into something? And you're uncovering clues. You're trying to figure things out. Do you click with it? And you start to go like, oh, this might be a trap. This might be this. Oh, this doesn't seem right. And then, of course, awareness, just the ability to find something. And then, of course, as we go, like as I said, technicians exist and stuff. So you have tech, stealth, traps, investigations, and the ability to use medkits. Now, medkits are very powerful technology in this game, because most of the technology in Trinity City is based upon what they've learned about the gifted. And so there's gifted who are like Wolverine. They can heal very quickly, so medkits are based upon that. You have a blood transfusion that makes you heal really lots of... it can even bring you back from the dead, basically, or defeat in the game very easily.
So we've talked about attributes, strength, endurance, will, stuff like that. You then moved on to some others which sounded more like skills than attributes. Are they attributes or are they skills?
I would say I put it all under modifiers. And yeah, so it's like this is any kind of challenge. I call them difficulty challenges. So it could be strength, it could be your ability to alter something. It's or decipher a clue or something like that. Anything that involves that, these are modifiers that would add to your roll.
Okay. I think, am I right in saying you don't, if I take something like D&D as an example, D&D has 6 attributes. Under
Yes.
your system, you don't really have 6 attributes. You will have things that affect your ability to use certain things like strength, endurance, will.
Yes.
But do they start at kind of 0 unless you've got something that helps you with them?
Yes. Yes.
Brilliant. So you don't really have attributes. You more have what do I excel at? I'm a normal person. However, I'm super strong. So I get what I think you said +5 to strength-based checks. So effectively, I've got +5 to my strength now. So I roll D20, add 5. Oh yeah, I've got a 1 in 4 chance of stopping that wall falling down if it's DC 20. I believe.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I think that's quite an unusual approach, and I quite like it for a superhero-based game. I think that's actually quite a clever way of focusing on what makes your character the superhero they are without cluttering it with other stuff. So you're not looking at, oh, I've got a wisdom of this, or I've got a charisma of this. You're going, I've got a strength of +5 because I'm super strong. It leaps out the page. I like it.
Excellent. Yeah, I really thought about that. It was every single decision I made with this, based upon the fame system, is what makes your character your character. So these modifiers, it's all about I'm super strong, or albeit you could also be a telekinetic in this game. So your will becomes your strength. So you could also stop the wall with pushing out your hand like 11 in Stranger Things, and it's her will that prevents the wall from falling. So maybe 2 people work on that wall, and other people focus on the villains to get to take them out, because they're certainly going to continue their mischief if you don't.
Okay. Yeah. That's quite interesting. You talked about a power that allowed you to use will for strength, so telekinesis. How is your list? You said there's 40 powers, 20 skills, and then a lot of abilities in each one.
Yes, exactly.
So if I'm creating a mystic, I want telekinetic powers. Is that the power I kind of take? Is it telekinesis?
Yes.
And then is there an ability in there that allows me to use my will as strength to hold back walls and do stuff like that? Or is it all within the power itself?
With telekinesis, there is a passive ability called mind over matter. And I basically say, if you take cosmic will, and that's another ability, that is a power that is basically supercharges an ability. And whatever your cosmic will, whatever your will is, bonus is added on to your strength bonus. So if you got 1, but you have +6 or 7 with your will, you would have an 8 will for that character.
Yeah. Okay. So of course, 2 people creating a mystic, unless they make exactly the same decisions, their characters will be quite different from each other.
Exactly, because with mystic, like telekinesis is 1 power. With mystic, they have things like mystic protections, and this is when I started to think about some other really super powered things, and I made mystic protections to be like the beginnings of showing that the Trinity City story has mystics that start to understand the kind of rune magic in Reese and Hickman's Deathgate novels. They understand CAT is cat, but they can't spell sentences. So the mystic protections would be an all-around protective system, which ultimately at the end, normal weapons have less of an impact on them. They can just go like, okay, no, I understand enough of the astral plane to just say, yeah, that doesn't hurt me as much.
Okay, before we move on to combat, because I've got a lot of questions around that, and I just want to go through, finalize sort of character creation. I'm creating a mystic. So I've got a background. The background's mystic. I come up with this ingenious reason of why I've got my powers.
Yes.
When it comes to the actual mechanics now, I get to select how many powers from the, I take it, the mystic sort of list. How many powers would I get to select?
For Mystic, it's about 30 of the powers. They're excluded from the technical powers, and they have a few that Gifted don't have because they're very, very tied to the astral plane. Like those Mystic protections. They may not be as protective as something like Invulnerability, but they cover everything.
Okay, so with a new character, how many do I get to add to my character sheet?
At the beginning, you would start with one mystic power and one skill.
One skill. So, do I get access to any of the abilities behind that power and that skill?
Yes.
How many?
At first, just one. So it's kind of like you're building your character up. It's like the system is a lot like a City of Heroes. If you guys have ever played, where you have those things, I just say no. You don't choose; you get them all. Once you choose your primaries, you will unlock everything because it will scale with your power. Then other powers, as you gain them, will still scale, but they start off at 1, and then they just scale +1 every time you get level, basically.
I think I'm beginning to get a picture here. So my power, I pick a power, and I think, it's Mystic Protection, say. Effectively, I get the first ability on that power list.
Yes.
So I bought a power, say the Mystic Defense. When I've got that power, I gain access to the first ability listed under that power?
Yes, exactly.
And as I gain... so we haven't discussed, is it experience points you get? How do I gain more additional abilities in that power?
With what I do is I call them reputation. You can earn reputation points because I thought experience what's Superman's level or Spider-Man's this or that, and I asked those questions. They said that it's more about, and this is why I call it the fame system. It's more about everybody knows what they can do and everybody knows about them, and therefore it's fame and reputation, and it's all based upon what you're doing. So yeah, as you go along and you're practicing your skills and you're saving people and people are noticing these things, you will get more reputation, and the more reputation you get, the better your the more fame you get, the better your skills will get, the better your powers will get. So you'll start unlocking every single thing as it cascades along. Then you get to a certain fame level, and you can get a new ability, a secondary, supplementary power. For the Mystic, they can get a supplementary power at Fame 3, and then you can choose what that would be. Now, you would want to read what Mystic Protections does, because I'll explain in the passives and the activatable abilities what would probably work best with it. And for that, it would be a will. And so you'd want to do something that boosts your will up as much as you can possibly get it. Because with most mystic powers, it's all about will. Especially with the dangers involved in the in the astral plane. Let's just say this is the astral plane is where all the story for every setting I'm making will stem from. It's not a friendly place, and you can lose yourself in it unless you have proper level of will to survive such things.
Okay.
So I've got a quick question. And you've mentioned about the fame system, and that's all about people getting to know you because you're doing great things. But at the beginning, you mentioned the Joker. So have you got the opposite of that as well? A notoriety, sort of, how notorious someone is, if they're sort of trying to play a bad superhero, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and for me, I still put it under fame and reputation because their reputation is one of destruction, which is a great segment because I get to say this disposition, which is my form of alignment, is very very tied into that. A hero who goes on revenge, for instance, will find out that's going to hit their reputation and their fame. So you don't want to be the guy who goes off half cocked and kills somebody because they hurt your family or this, that, or other thing. Now, on the same side, like I said, in the disposition, heroes protect, anti heroes punish, and villains cause or exploit chaos. You may be able to make an argument of this person is too dangerous to keep alive.
Okay.
But for the average punk who's harassing somebody in the streets, there is no such argument. You have done something that a hero probably shouldn't, and you're going to take a hit to your reputation and your fame. So you have to. Alignment becomes not like, especially now. What is alignment in Dungeons and Dragons 2024? Nothing. No, a hero is a hero. Anti-hero is an anti-hero. A villain is a villain. So yes,
Okay.
to answer your question, those all kind of tie together.
Fantastic.
The disposition system then kind of incentivizes you on how you gain reputation. So if you're a villain and you go around helping people, you're going to take a hit because you're supposed to be a villain.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I like that too. I really
do as well.
So you've talked about fame and reputation. Is fame your level, and is reputation the points that allow you to gain ranks in fame or to increase your fame?
Yes.
Okay. And yeah, I'm playing the Mystic. Do I have, under my background, do I have like a table indicating at what fame ranks I get additional abilities and additional powers and skills?
Yes. In the rule book, the first part is your background, and I will show the how you rank up and when you gain new powers and skills. And then, of course, with each power, I again make a table saying at this power level and that power level and that power level, what abilities, passive and active actions you can take based on what you've unlocked.
Okay, you've said power level. Is that the same as your kind of fame level?
Yes. Like I said, it depends. If you get a secondary power, let's say at fame 7, it starts at 1. So you will never get it to 12.
I get it. So this is not too dissimilar to 3rd edition had it, where they had your table and, for example, your paladin and ranger, their spellcasting level went up at 1 for every 2 levels they gained. So exactly. Power level is a similar mechanic in that, but it refers to your ability, your power, and what level your power is.
Yes, exactly. So if you
Hmm.
gain something at 7, it'll only go to 6. But if you take it as a primary, it goes to 12.
Yeah.
Supplementary would go to 10. A
Hmm.
tertiary, the final cherry on top, only goes to 3.
Okay. Do you know that this is all coming together really well? Skills. What's the difference between your powers and your skills?
Powers are extraordinary abilities, like super strength. But for the average Joe, like Batman, he's not going to have super strength. But he is going to have athletics. And athletics is basically his ability to be stronger, fast, a little bit stronger, a little bit faster, a little bit more, have a little bit more endurance and everything than the average person who sits on their couch all the time, which is why I put it under a skill. So it breaks it down to where somebody with athletics can have one ability, like a strength type modifier, up to +4, which means somebody with super strength will always start stronger than them. But they also, this athletics gives you a +3 if you take strength, +3 reflexes, +3 defensive rating, 75 more health, +3 more endurance modifier and stuff like that. And then I also do that for mental abilities with mindfulness, and you can have more will, judgment, and awareness because you're mindful of your environment, type of thing.
Oh,
Okay. So we mentioned health for the first time. Health is how much punishment you can take.
Yes.
And 75 sounds like a big number. Is your only way of gaining health through powers and skills?
Yes.
What is your starting health then?
100.
Okay.
Which equates to, in my system, you can take about 5 punches, or you could get hit by about a weapon 3 or 4 times, or if somebody shoots at you, you can be taken out in 2 shots.
This is my next question then. How is damage dealt? Is damage a fixed number, or is it dice based?
I'm right now making it a fixed number, but it can also be modified. Of course, if you have super strength, if you punch somebody, it's not going to be 20 like most people. It's going to have all of that muscle backed into it. So I give a 125% bonus to that to start off with, and up to 400% bonus. So somebody with super strength may start off with 45 damage with a punch, but ends with 100.
Okay.
With a normal punch.
When you say 125, is that 25% more damage?
Yes, 125% more damage.
Okay. Hang on. I just want to really clarify here. That means if I got a punch 20 and I'm adding 120, I'm not adding 125%, I'm adding 25% more damage. So the damage is 125% overall.
Oh no. That's bonus damage, and it's 20 plus 25. So somebody with super strength gets 125%.
So yeah, got it. So if I had 100%, that's doubling my damage.
Yes.
Brilliant. Okay, so that's fine. Percentages like this, do you find that's a tricky one for people to do on the fly?
I can kind of do it myself because I'm so good at math.
I let you into a secret. I'm not.
No.
Right? I'm very good at complicated maths, things like algebra, but when it comes to mental arithmetic, Dean will vouch for me when I say I am rubbish.
Okay, so when I was talking to Brass, he suggested that I do things with virtual tabletops because the virtual tabletop would probably be able to handle those equations because that's where my crunchiness comes in, because you also, I do this amount of damage, but I'm reducing this kind of from because I have a physical damage reduction. So if you punch me for 100, I'm reducing that by 50, and then I'm taking that off another 25% off of that because of resistances. And he's suggested it might be a good thing to do it on VTTs. And so I'm learning how to start to get into that and figure that out. Because yet another thing to learn when you're developing something, right?
Yeah. I fully understand the kind of crunch. We went from having a kind of reroll mechanic to having a damage reduction mechanic and the more sort of calculations you've got in getting to the final figure, especially complex calculations, the longer things tend to take. It's interesting. First of all, I think having the percentages and the way you've done them gives you a lot more granularity. I think your idea of having a set number that you take off and then a resistance, is it number taken off, then resistance?
Yes. Number taken off and then resistance.
Do you know what? That's a classic way of doing it. I think Dark Souls 3 brought that in with theirs, where you had two numbers. One was we reduce damage by this amount, and then we reduce it further by a percentage. And I think that kind of combination gives you a lot more granularity and a lot more things you can do with the mechanics. So a lot more depth, but it is at the expense of complexity. That said, I take it it's abilities within your powers and skills that will slowly trickle through these different resistances and reductions.
Yes, exactly. Mystic protections would have a certain amount, and then you keep on building it. The first ability, for instance, that you asked about, is an actual mystic shield that protects you against everything. So if somebody shoots at you or stuff like that, you can cast up kind of like Doctor Strange and do your thing and reduce that damage. Create yourself, basically.
We're now kind of touching on something else, and we're almost bordering on one of Vicky's favorite subjects, where she won't stop talking, and that is mystic.
Stop talking.
Mystic powers. Is there a resource that you spend? So you put up your shield to reduce the damage or to stop the damage. Is that costing you anything to do that?
Yes, it's called energy in Tales from Trinity City. I might change that from setting to setting because, well, they would probably call it something different. Maybe in Savior's Crest County, they call it spirit, because that's what you call it, man. Yeah.
That's great.
Or maybe, stuff like that. But you have a certain amount of that, and if you use it all up, you have to go back to just your basic abilities until you have enough energy to actually accomplish use the power again. Now, you can also regain it naturally, 1 energy per turn, or you can, in Trinity City, like I said, they have a lot of science and technology based upon the gifted, so you can pop a pill and have 6 energy within 3 rounds of combat. Okay. So, and then that will allow you to cast or use another fireball if you have fire mastery.
Fantastic. Just as a quick one now to cover off the kind of mechanics and class. What's the maximum fame you can reach?
I'd make it 12 right now.
12. Brilliant. And there was just something else. 2 seconds. Can you only play a human, or do you have races?
In Trinity City, it is only humans because, well, it's a parallel Earth. It's our world, but it's conquered by an alien race. You can't play the alien race. That may be something I open up in the future, but as of right now in the story, no. They consider us cattle. And so they would never go like, oh, I'm going to work with the cattle. No, they don't. Things have to change. And
fantastic.
That would be probably in the after the 4th or 5th. No, I'll probably put it in the 6th campaign where you might have that the aliens as a background.
Brilliant.
And that'll open up new powers and abilities that they have for players. In my next one, Miss Tamara, of course, most of the backgrounds are different races. Elf is a different background. Dwarf is a different background. Human is a different background. Humans also can be seers, holy people, and kind of the equivalent of mystic. And then, of course, I do something very devious, and I'm going to put in the little people who can give you sacrificial wishes. You have to sacrifice something to get what you want.
Ooh.
Brilliant.
That'll be an interesting mechanic, and I'll allow players to play it because I've already balanced it out. Like, what are you willing to pay for this?
I'm going to talk all about magic because that is my favorite topic in the world.
Awesome. Well, in my system, it's less magic and more about powers. Like, as I said, the powers are these extraordinary abilities. And
if I'm a mage, can I sort of, so that'd be mystic in your system? Did I understand that correctly?
Yes.
So I would have powers and skills that I've taken from that sort of mystic track.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, and what does it let me do?
Oh, just about anything, because mystics have the ability, because they're dealing with the astral plane. And let me just lay out what the astral plane is.
Brilliant, yes, please.
It's all time, all space, all presence, all thought, emotion, or actions. It's everything. Okay. So you can ask it to basically do anything. Trixie has telepathy. Gifted also have telepathy, but she's a mystic. She learned it from achieving a level of connecting to the astral plane that most people don't even understand, and was able to learn how to speak to people's minds. And I put a couple of stories on Substack about what some of the things she does. She's like a villain light. She likes chaos, but she does it in such a way that teaches somebody a lesson that they should of something they should do. Such as if one person, she actually read his surface thoughts, knew that he had a puppy before the invasion, and whenever he started to harass people, she made him and the other people see his puppy. To the point where the guy was going mad, knowing that his dog shouldn't be alive because it's 20 years and the city took it and everything else. But he keeps on seeing it, and so eventually he starts to say, "You know what? I shouldn't harass people. I shouldn't be angry because at people who have superpowers or anything like that. I should just be cool." And then she comes and gives him a kiss on his cheek and says, "Thank you for learning." So it's kind of like that mischievous chaos.
Okay, so if I wanted, so I'm playing a mystic and I want to do something, how would I actually do that? Do I get spell points? Do I get mystic points? Or is it I just come up with stuff that I want to do and the GM adjudicates? Have we actually covered? Do you have a GM? I'm assuming you do.
I call it the mastermind, and it's supposed to be, if you think of the connotation of comics and all that, masterminds are not supposed to be helpful to their players that much. I give them this mentor character will help you, but my job is to be as difficult with the players as possible to make sure that they feel like they're accomplishing something. So I'm not going to throw my punches. If Death Biker shows up, he's going to target the squishiest damage dealer as possible and try to squeeze her to death, or him to death.
Okay, so going back to my wonderful mage, or my mystic, how am I going to bring these spells or this power of mine to being?
It's the same as basically everybody else. You will have the powers and skills, so you choose your powers and skills. So mystics have a few that are specifically just mystics that only mystics can have, like mystic protections. There's celestial foci, which is focusing on the helpers of the astral plane. There's the infernal foci, which is dealing with Shanus and the rebellion, and then there is specifically one called symbolic foci, which is using letters and runes to cause effects. Like you write out a scroll, and they can become a lion or a spear or something like that. But it works basically the same, except nobody can have those 4 particular ones, except mystics. It works just like somebody who has fire mastery, for instance. You have your energy, you use your energy, that allows you to use your magic for a mystic. So it's all based upon that. That's energy is the currency for all actions, basically.
So the bit now, this could just be me, all right? So it does sometimes take me a while to get my head around new systems. But when I'm looking, I'm thinking, well, what happens if I want to do something for say something like I'm a superhero like say Thor, and I want to create a lightning bolt. How would I do that in your system?
That would be under lightning mastery, and that is, again, you can choose that power to begin with. I put up one a few months ago, Valkyrie. She flies, she has a spear, and she uses lightning. So she would fly up with a spear and enchant it with, or infuse it with her lightning essence, and just boom, and cause as much damage as possible. It's always going to kind of be like that. Like I said, it's made to be a lot like City of Heroes. So whatever your primary is, that's what you want. That's your ability, and that's what's going to be fully unlocked. So whatever mage you see yourself becoming, just look at what would be the best powers that would fit that build.
All of them. I'm a wizard. I always go for all of them, as many powers as possible that allows me to do lots of different things. How would I be able to combine all of these different things? Is there a way I could combine all these different things?
Good thing about being a mystic is you can use your skills to learn powers.
I like this even more.
Yeah, so you can mix and match, but so you could go like, oh, I'm not going to even use weapons whatsoever. I'm going to be all about being an elementalist. I'm going to have a wind and fire and lightning and ice abilities all branching in as they would come in as you get your skills. So you can do that, and I would almost always recommend with such a build, you would probably want to have Cosmic Will as a enhancer of those abilities as soon as possible, because Wind has a lot of great defensive abilities against other elements, because you can basically, somebody throws a fireball, oh, I'm going to throw wind at that fireball and knock it off the trajectory, which is possible because fire is...
I would like to knock my fireballs off trajectory. Who's suggesting that my fireballs can go somewhere else? No. No, think about I want them to go.
we've just mentioned something here. So there's two things I just want to make sure I understand. You mentioned fire mastery and lightning mastery. So
Yes.
I'm at fame rank 1. You start at
Yeah.
fame 1?
Yes.
Yeah. I've got lightning mastery.
Yes.
What's the first ability within lightning mastery?
Jolting touch, which allows you to either electrocute directly with your hand, or you can use enhance that an arrow or a melee weapon with the same amount of damage, and it only costs 2. And and for certain ones, it would cost even less energy to use because. As I said, a lot of technology in the city it learns how gifted and other types of powers work, and may help you reduce the amount of energy you need to do said ability.
Okay, that sounds straightforward. So as my fame increases, I unlock abilities that allow me to do more. So
Yes.
a lightning bolt, for example, with that.
That would be the second level of the ability, and it would hit one person at range. But then here's the thing: I love lightning mastery because that's where the damage dealing really is in my game, because it has one status effect. Well, no, it can stun, but it has one status effect called static charge. You can make everything in a certain area have a static charge. And when you hit with one ability, let's say jolting touch, and you fire an arrow and that hits somebody, everybody with a static charge within 10 feet of that person gets hit by the electrical damage as well. So you could have 5-10 people with a static charge, and they're going like zab and like whoa. And if you add cosmic will into that, well, now you're not just doing 40 electrical damage, you're adding the percentages cosmic will adds to those abilities. So you could be doing 100 electrical damage, and people growing chests going like boom, boom, boom.
Okay, I hate to tell you this, but I think I've already got this superpower, considering that I've been walking around the house the last few days, electrocuting everything within a 5-mile vicinity of myself.
Except your power is twisted; it's cursed because you keep shocking yourself.
I do. I do.
Right. I've got one more here on spells. You mentioned someone doing a fireball, and then you're a wind master, and you can then deflect the fireball away. What does that mean in combat? You got a kind of reaction system that can be used.
Yes. I put it in as a quick action, and I say that certain abilities can be used as a quick action. You could put up a wall of air that would snuff out a fireball before it hits you, or deflect it. And so that's one of the things Wind Master would be. They wouldn't be able to do much damage because wind doesn't do much damage, but they can move fast and deflect things and maybe trip somebody with strong enough wind on their feet and stuff like that.
Yeah. Could you fly with Wind Mastery?
Well, that would be a separate power, but yeah. I would totally allow that. Somebody goes like, "Hey, I'm a wind master who flies, and I love punching things."
Okay,
so
brilliant. Just to quickly cover off combat, because at this point we kind of wandered into the combat area, and
we did. I snuck you into combat.
Yeah, yes, and it kind of does. It's how do you determine who goes first in what order?
In my initiative system. Speed is everything, and there's people with super speed. I would never imagine Flash is going to be not going first, if you know what I mean. He's going to step right in, knock some people on the floor, and zip right back out. So speed is everything. So if you're like you got super speed or flying, you're probably going to go first. I also give telepathy as not teleportation as an opening power as well. That would be perfect for somebody who wants to be like quote a conjurer type person, because you can teleport. And it becomes a little bit like almost an assassin type thing. You can teleport behind people and sneak attack them and stuff like that. And,
Okay, two things have sprung to mind with what you've described. The first one is I can't remember which X-Men movie it was, but the lift opens. You got Quicksilver with I believe Magneto and there was someone else breaking out of the prison, and you got all the guards with guns, and time stops, and Quicksilver then runs around the room, basically disarming them and putting them all to one side, and that's the super speed, allowing you to act before anybody else acts.
exactly.
And the second one, I believe it's Nightwing in the third X-Men movie, where he's in the White House and he's just vanishing and appearing and disabling guards, jumping onto their backs and basically teleporting about the place and constantly keeping away from harm, because they just can't catch him or see him.
Exactly.
I sleep through these ones.
You must have. You have seen both of them.
Have I?
But
Okay.
I like that, because it sounds like you've really got a good grasp of what makes superheroes, and you managed to digest it and
Definitely.
dilute it into your system, which is great. So we're in combat. I'm going first. What can I do?
Well, you would be able to then look at with super speed. I really like this, and this makes I have a character in the pre-generated character in the first Daring Tale, walking through the neighborhood. Alyssa, she has something called speed burst. Speed burst. She can take 2 actions before anybody can do anything.
Okay.
So if she wants to use that and shoot 2 arrows and hit 2 guys and knock them on their butts, she can do that. It just costs her 2 energy to do that, and then just bang, bang, next.
But typically you'd have 1 action on your turn.
Yes.
You mentioned a
only
swift.
ones that get that.
Okay. You mentioned a swift action. Does everybody get a swift action, and is that an action you kind of take outside of your turn in response to what someone else is doing?
Yes. Yeah, you can take quite a few swift actions. You can ready your weapon, for instance. So if you take, you might have your bow might be holstered, or your gun might be holstered, or you instead of having your shield to your side, you can bring it up and stuff like that. So you can take quick actions like that to make sure that you're doing that. And then there is abilities that stamp out, this is a quick action, you can do that. Like another thing Alyssa can do is also with that 2 actions, she can, if she had lightning mastery, enhance her arrow to do electrical damage, like I said before. So 1 action, 2 actions, bam, done.
Yeah. Okay, and then you mentioned having more than 1 swift action. Is there like a pool of swift actions you've got each round?
You can just take 1.
Okay.
Because it's a 6-second round, you can take 1 swift action. So at the end of the round, if you quickly patch yourself with a healing kit, which will just... It's not like drinking a potion. You patch it like it's like a little patch, and you can go boom, and it'll heal you for the next 3 rounds. You can do stuff like that.
So you can keep your swift action to one side. You have your action in combat. I went first. I'm going to keep my swift action to see if I can respond to someone, and then use it at any point in response. So the wind wall to deflect a fireball or anything like that.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Does that mean you got powers that allow you to get out of harm's way? So you're super fast. Have you got a power where someone's shooting at you, but you just go, I'm going to use my swift action to move out the way so he's no longer shooting at me?
Yes. Yes, there is plenty of that. With lightning reflexes and with super speed, that is primarily most of their abilities. Although super speed, I say that you can generate static charges, so you can do a bit of the flash, where you can, when you have enough of it, you can shoot a lightning bolt at somebody. But you have to have enough static charges, and that is it for that power 5. You have to have 5 static charges too. But then remember what I said about lightning powers. If you have 5 static charges, you're vulnerable to them. So it's kind of like a rock, paper, scissors.
If someone there's got lightning, they could hit an ally next to you, and you're going to get zapped.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. I think that's fantastic. Sorry, over to you, Henny.
I was just thinking, because you mentioned about the patches that you can use to heal yourself. And I think this actually comes on to, as a character, if I'm going out there, I'm doing stuff, how much stuff can I carry? So, I just, have I got a backpack with 50 of these patches so I can keep myself up? How does that work? What am I allowed to carry?
You can carry up to your weight allowance, and that for a normal character, that's up to 100 pounds of stuff. Even though I know, I recently, if you read Jack's Discord, I talk about carrying 60 pounds worth of groceries home, and I asked, how do adventurers do that? But I forget that. Just like Jack said, it's magic. So you'll have a backpack probably. In Trinity City, they are very economically depressed. It's a single city, and the entire rest of the world has been conquered by these aliens, except for you're living in the only unconquered city. Now.
It's the last bastion of hope for humankind. Exactly.
And so you won't have much resources. If you have a good weapon, you have some armor, you have food on your table, and you have a few of these patches, great. Maybe higher people who have higher fame will probably have better equipment, will have a few more of these things to help themselves and everything. But a basic patch, I have it is 50, every single faction in the game has a different currency, cryptocurrency. And it's for one who sells these patches, it's called Netties, because they call themselves the network. They are a bunch of tinkerers and engineers who just banded together to help people. And they try to give you what they can, basically. Basic ones are 50. The big ones that can actually resurrect people and really heal anybody up to full costs over 200 credits. So you're not likely to have that much because everybody's scrounging. Everybody's trying to stay alive in the city. Yeah. So it's there, but not too much. Not too much.
Excellent. So we've talked a little bit about stuff we can carry. But what about stuff like armor and weapons? What sort of? I mean, we've talked a little bit about them, but what would you say would be your key sort of armors? How would you get hold of them? And do you need any specific training in order to be able to wear them?
I don't make a specific training. Anybody can wear any armor, but it depends on what kind of character you're going to have. There is light armor, like basic light armor, which will give you between 2, 3, or 4 points of protection, and but that will allow full movement and full dodge capabilities. Because let's say lightning reflexes, that can give you up to 9 defensive rating from dodging, but only if you wear light or less armor. Then you have a medium armor, like a battle armor, so it would provide up to 6 points, but it would only allow 3 points of up to 3 points of defense, and it will hamper your speed by about 6 points.
Okay.
And now, be it you can have up to 40 speed with super speed, for instance, or 30 with flying, or you could add athletics to that, because again, that would increase your speed marginally, but you would have -6. And then there is the premier kind of armor in Trinity City. It's called Indestructium. It is 8 defensive rating, and it's got resistances as well.
Ooh, very nice.
Yeah, and it is extremely hard to get because most of it's owned by the city, and it was what was left after the Unknown Gifted destroyed every single mech, soldier, and ship that invaded Trinity City 19 years ago. So it's really hard to come by. In the first campaign, you can work with somebody with the network who's going to test the players. It's a test. So both to gather the materials and to learn the plans, which are 2 daring tales, one after the other. It's a massive test, but you can make he gives you the designs to create Indestructium armor that has force fields and a stealth field. He just wants to make sure the person who's getting it, or the group who's getting it, are smart enough to take out a very dangerous person.
Okay.
So
that sounds really cool.
Yeah, Dean asked me about a map once upon a time of an orc area. That's a simulation, or is it a simulation? Because you can never know, because my fame system is a multiverse. But as far as the characters are concerned, it's a simulation, and they have to solve a bunch of puzzles that somebody's putting them in. So don't expect be Dungeons and Dragons and be murder hobos. You have to figure it out.
Well, that's cool. So I take it the weapons that are available, they come again in different scales of how much damage they can do, and what you can have is linked back to your skills and powers.
Yeah. That plus, you're absolutely correct. There's two types of qualities of weapons. There is I should say 3. There is your average stuff. There is enhanced stuff, like somebody puts a solar battery together with some wires around a blade, and it can do electrical damage, but it only has so many charges before doesn't have any more, and then you have to recharge it. Fortunately,
charge it.
Yeah, fortunately,
it's like our electric cars. It only goes so far, and I have to plug it back in.
Yep. Then there is power linked equipment. Again, both armor and weapons can have power links, and so let's say you're a fire master, and you pick up a sword that hasn't been attuned to anything yet, and it tunes itself to your fire, and it makes the sword flame. And then also with quality of the weapons, you have normal quality, and you have Indestructium weapons as well. Indestructium weapons have penetration, which will help you get through damage reduction.
Mm.
You can punch right through it. They can also make bullets with it too, but those are extremely expensive.
Does it ignore damage reduction?
Yes, penetration ignores it. So let's say somebody has 50 and you have penetration of 30, you'll ignore 30 of that.
Got it. Okay.
Excellent.
Mm.
Well, you've just mentioned that would be very expensive. So this brings us on to the economy of your setting and your world. So what's the economy like? What's your sort of structure for it? Because you've mentioned a few times that times are really hard. It's the last bastion of hope. It's the last sort of human city. But you've also said that, times are hard. So what's your economy like?
A lot of it is do it yourself. The network is a bunch of engineers who are just may have gathered some things from the aliens that the city doesn't have. So let's say the city has 70% of it, and then these engineers in the network have about 30% of it, and they're working with different things and trying to learn and perfect things with them. And so a lot of it's do it yourself, or you work with the network. A lot of heroes will work with the network to do their best to get the best equipment and stuff like that. And the network is fine as long as you don't out them, because the city does not like them. And especially some of their experiments, there's something called Cyberlink in there, which is humans see these implants in the aliens' armors. They try to reverse engineer it and everything. At first, it causes all kinds of chaos, from berserking humans to people's whose hearts explode and everything else. So the city has officially said it's illegal to try to manipulate anything like that. Well, 19 years later, they're better at it. The city still refuses to lift the illegalization. So you out one who's doing that could end up killing them, because the city will not tolerate that. So they're big on that secrecy and anonymity. In fact, when you hear somebody referred to as 163 or 67, you know that's a person in the network, and you know that you're never going to learn their name, and you better not out them or where they are, because that will kill your ability to work with them.
Okay, so if I think about, so you mentioned about the city. So can you purchase things from the city, and is there a sort of structure to that economy? And then is there like your black market that sort of flows underneath that, which are like your mechanics?
Basically, yeah. With normal citizens who are not in the projects, and again, I'm putting everything like the projects is own part of Trinity City. They have it's almost their own economy, and they're like their own city within the city. But basically, the city says, you work for us, you work the mines, you work the docks, you work the ships, you do this. Mm-hmm. We will make sure that you have all the food, all the water, all the energy, everything that you need. It's provided to you. You just have to work 5.5 days a week, and you get 1 day off per week. And world building, they have 13 28-day months, because they don't care about anything other than efficiency, with 1 day of transition. So you get that day of transition off, and your 1 day a week off, and that's it.
So as a superhero, then, do I still need to do a day job?
Depends on where you live. If you're in the city proper, yes. If you're in the projects, probably not. Although I start off. They have very much the same thing. Worries. They have to make sure there's food on the table and all of this.
Exactly.
So you might start off as somebody who's working the very large public gardens to plant potatoes so everybody can eat, so everybody can have their rabbit stew at the end of the day, basically. So it's a lot like that. In fact, that's in the first Daring Tale as a group. That's your first encounter. You meet the mentor character that I would be playing, or a mastermind would be playing. He has all the answers, and you're planting potatoes for a few rolls.
Not if I was a mystic, I would electrocute those potatoes. Ah. You know what they are then? Chips.
Chips. Oh, yeah.
Oh, dear.
I can't help it.
You can't.
I can't. I can't help it. No.
Is the meat diet going well there, my darling? It's craving
Fine,
carbs.
there's no carb craving going on here at all whatsoever.
Okay, so it sounds like your access to gear is actually quite controlled.
Yes.
That a lot of your rewards for helping people could be them giving you gear or giving you bits and pieces. It's not like you're going to defeat the bad guy's lair and find 10,000 gold lying around.
No.
You might scavenge a few things, but your main source of income is going to be the thanks you get from helping people in Trinity City.
Exactly.
Okay, I think that's quite nice. I think that's sensible. It also means you can keep your gear very much controlled. But I have a big question here, which is, can I start as Iron Man?
Yes. Yes, you could. If you take Technician and you take it, there is a power for it. Power armor. It's basically the same type of thing. I would recommend your skill would be engineering, because you would want to engineering boosts your tech's modifier, and your tech modifier would be modifying a lot of the abilities that your power armor suit. And then if you wanted to get flying as a supplementary power later, sure. And then you could do other things. You might be Iron Man Plus, add force fields.
Yeah. So you can mix match, you can dabble, you can really create your kind of superhero using the fame system. Exactly.
As I said, your character, your way, as soon as you start.
Yeah.
Boom. I just make it super simple.
So fantastic. I have a question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who am I fighting? What creatures are out there? How nasty are they? And what sort of encounters can I expect?
Well, most people in Trinity City are not gifted or have superpowers, but they can be just as dangerous. I did a little video. Brass asked me to do a video to explain the combat. 5 well-armed commandos would be able to be a serious threat to a Fame 12 character. You're always going to have that. You're not going to be completely invulnerable. So well-armed normal people, maybe belligerent normal people who are not very well-armed. You could be
very grumpy.
Somebody down this walking past you, or who is about to fight you, might be gifted as well and have superpowers. So you don't know, because unless the flame aura or unless the ice armor starts forming around them, you don't know. And of course, even though the city is now protected by a force field, that force field occasionally goes out in places, and there might be Serpentine Empire soldiers coming into the projects, causing trouble as well. So just about anything and everything in that universe this is, again, you don't know who you're about to meet. In fact, the way I have it now, on the day of transition, it's always on the anniversary of the defeat of the Serpentine Empire at the city now, and
Right.
the city encourages everybody to thank that everybody they meet, because you might be thanking the gifted who actually destroyed the army, because you don't know, you might be.
Excellent. I like that. That sounds really interesting.
Oh, it does. We're talking about creatures and punishment here. You know, the fact you can't take too much punishment, even at high levels. Can you die in your system?
I call it defeat in Trinity City because ultimately they have medical technology that would, because of the gifted, medical technology that is beyond anything that we have. So
Hmm.
it's really hard to kill somebody. But defeat has its other consequences, because if a hero has gone down 30, 40 times, who really thinks that they're a hero? So
Yeah.
they might find that their ability to go up in fame gets capped to 7 or 9 or 10 instead of 12.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. Okay, so in essence, your way of getting a total party wipe, for example, it's very different. You will be defeated by the bad guy, and you have to retreat, regroup, and figure out how to counter what the bad guy's done. So it's like a tug of war between you and the bad guy, and even you trying to defeat a bad guy, a villain. That villain will more likely withdraw from combat, or the building collapses and they're under the rubble. So you don't know whether they're dead or not, but they're not dead. They're going to come back later.
Maybe.
Maybe. I think
Well,
it was called an obscure death rule in AD&D. You know, make sure when they think the big bad's died, it's done in a way that obscures whether they actually died or not.
good. But yeah,
Always come back.
some may come back. Oh, there's one, like, you get to fight it in the third Death Biker. It is a zombie with super strength and energizing endurance, so it simply can crush a person in about 2 rounds. Just bear hug them to death or into defeat, and well, it's a zombie. You can bring it down to 0, but it will come back. That's one I can guarantee it can come back, because it's under an enchantment.
Okay.
And the person who's enchanted it loves using it as an assassin.
That sounds incredible.
So that's great. Now, when I have a look, I think we've gone through pretty much most, if not all of the stuff that we had to ask. But I've got a really important question for you, Mark.
Okay.
What does the future hold for you and your system? What are you going to be doing with Tales of Trinity City? Where do you see yourself going? And what are you going to be doing over the next year or so?
This year, I'm going to finish off the first campaign for Tales from Trinity City. The Welcome to Trinity City campaign. There's 12 of them. Each one's about 60 pages, 50 pages long, with maps. I think it includes maps. So it's going to be about. It's a short trilogy almost, and I do have it written as 3 different acts. You have the beginning act, which kind of shows you what Trinity City is all about, like welcome to the projects. There's another one called the Tales of Tyranny. Some people don't like gifted, don't like people with superpowers, and they will do whatever they can to make their lives horrible. and that's the second one. But unfortunately, they don't have gifted amongst them, so you're fighting a bunch of normal people who are just very organized or normal people, and so it can be quite dangerous because they. Yeah, I put the funny fact. I put the cover. The cover of the second one is the cover of the first one, except I put a bullseye on it.
Nice.
And then
I just imagining all these secretaries being really organised and sort of sending everybody out in shifts. Yes, it could be quite concerning.
and then the third one starts the real tale, the real story, and you're going to get kicked out of your normal worlds, and you're going to find out there's a party drug that everybody kind of uses, and it's not it's a Trojan horse.
Ah,
You have to
sounds
figure that.
interesting.
Yeah. And then you go through 10 daring tales to prevent basically a war crime.
That sounds great. So you're saying that you're busy working on that at the moment. When do you think that this will be available?
I have the first 8 out now. I would say by April I'll have all 12 written so that they can be play tested. And then, which is why I said to Paladin and Steve and everybody, hey, we are about to have session 0 on the 15th of this month, because it's time that I get people to play and get lots of feedback from as many people as possible. And then after that, unfortunately, my Wind Daughters, I call them Wind Daughters, they keep on whispering the story of the Elves of Mistamira, and I'm going like, okay, I'm going to have to start on Mistamira after that, so that's what's going to happen next, that setting. But right now, I believe I should be able to create the rule book for that in 6 to 9 months, because the difference between, let's say, super speed and wind running, probably not that much, except one's more like about using the lightning metaphor, and the other one is about wind. So you're going to change some of the abilities and stuff like that. But I was able to completely rewrite what I originally had for Tales in Trinity City to the Fame system in 2 months. So from scratch, I'm saying probably 6 months to get that done. And
fantastic.
Then I get to start to write that campaign for them. And just to let everybody know, this is all going to eventually connect to the Inn of Infinite Worlds, which is I'm also going to bring out by the end of this month, because there is going to be a multiverse crisis at one point, because, as I said, there is dangers in the astral plane for every one of those worlds. And it has to be dealt with. Somebody might have a temper tantrum and people have to spank them.
It sounds like you are really busy going forward, and it sounds like you got some fantastic projects. I got to be honest, what I've taken from this is the system is all about being that superhero. It seems to be very well thought out. You have really taken my vision of not just films, but also the comics of superheroes, and allowed me to create characters from those visions. It sounds like if superheroes is your thing, if you want a great superhero system, this sounds like a great contender. And I think you've done some good stuff in here. The only thing I'd say, the percentages, they sound a bit odd compared to a D20 system.
This is why I want to get as much feedback as possible and from playtesting, because we all might be able to figure out a better system for the damage resistance. The big thing is what I wanted to make sure of is have you ever seen the Brandon Routh Superman shot where somebody shoots him in the eye and the bullet just goes boom? Well, that's obviously a critical hit that means nothing to Superman. And I wanted to make sure that I could create that as well. So somebody can shoot you point blank and it means nothing because you have Indestructium and you have invulnerability on top of it. So they shoot you and it's like, okay, what's next? I'm going to punch you and you're going to go flying.
Yes.
Well, for one thing I can say is Dean and I, we thought had finished when we entered playtest. We were like, yeah, we got the system. Yeah, 12 months of playtesting and some serious playtesting, including high levels. And yeah, it completely changed. A lot of the stuff that we thought was settled, we completely changed. And can I just say your system will be so much better because of it, because you get that feedback, you get that views, and you know something, it's great. At the beginning, it feels quite a challenge when you're going through it. But now when I look back, that 12 months plus of serious playtesting, we did playtesting before that, but it was a solid 12 months of playtesting. It made such a difference.
It's huge.
And so look forward to your playtesting, enjoy it. I always think that the hardest thing for any game creator is when people start giving feedback is to not taking it personally. I know there were times where we were like, but we're doing that. And it is always a challenge. But I'm confident that you'll do really well and you'll have some great playtesters who'll give you constructive feedback that you can then build into your system and it'll become even better. So well done and can't wait to see where it goes.
Absolutely.
Honestly, I've also watched the last playthrough between you and Jack and Brad. And I almost want to go with, because of how I see my system, the primary, secondary, and tertiary, I almost see the same multi-D20. I might start to think about that, because if you're a primary, why not give 3 rolls?
You know something, it's been an absolute game changer for us. Dean's got all of the models of the maths and all the clever stuff behind, because it all figures out your percentages for you.
Exactly. Your +5 strength, it acts incredibly different the moment you roll 2 dice, and even differenter when you roll 3 dice. And when you add the 4th dice, your percentages kind of go from like 75, 25% chance of success, jumping right the way up to like into the 40s by adding a second dice, then jumping up, not as much, but you're getting these lovely kind of granular jumps as you add each D20. The maths hidden in the background is quite clever, and it gives you that granular approach, which is you got your modifier and then dice. So you can have a low modifier but a lot of dice, and that might make you a lot better than someone who's got a high modifier but only 1 dice, where they're relying more on luck, whereas you got more skill. And that's what I love. But Mark, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. It's been a couple of hours and I've really enjoyed talking to you. I've got such a much better idea of what Tales of Trinity City is about and your fame system. So thank you so much.
No problem. And I'll talk to you guys later. See you next Wednesday, probably.
Absolutely.
Probably, definitely. And when you've written your next one, so we can circle back round and you can tell us all about that one. How does that sound?
Yeah, we'll get you back on the show.